This is our second time around. This looks better. Something was different last time and it didn't seem right. So I stopped and started it again. So hopefully this will work now. Anyway, if you're just joining us, this is our Wednesday Night Live Q&A. I'm Tracy Matson, certified professional dog trainer. I come on every Wednesday night to answer all of your training questions. I just talked about getting your dog used to a harness because I see that a lot on the Facebook group. Hey, Emily. Emily, it might just be you and I tonight. Hey, Emily, I'm just curious. Did you just get on or were you on before and I couldn't see you? Because there was a little circle that just kept spinning and spinning, but I couldn't see any comments. So I actually stopped and started. So did you just jump on or were you able to see the whole spiel about getting used to harnesses and lawnmowers? Oh, hi, Nicole. Oh, good. We'll at least have a few. Julie. So let me hurry and write your names down. So you were on before. Yeah, I didn't see anything. Oh, good. So you did see him. Yeah, it was so weird because where you guys put up your chats, there was just a circle. It wasn't letting me see anything. So I thought, oh, we might not have anybody tonight. So that's why I stopped it and started it again. This is much better. Okay, I'm just writing down names. Hi, Anthony. Let me write down a few names, and then Anthony will come back and answer your question. Hi, Rhonda. So, Rhonda, is this your first time? If so, let me know where you're from. A lot of these folks, they're here every week, so I kind of memorize where they're from. But if this is your first time, let me know where you're from, and then I can enter you in the drawing. Hi, Jeff and Deb. So, Deb, if I remember, your last name is something you made up for social media, right? Because I was asking you where your last name came from. And I remember that because to me, it sounds like a Native American last name. And I think you said, it's just something I made up, which is brilliant, by the way, I think. Okay, so Maryland. Yep, I did remember that. Okay. Oh, Rhonda, you're from Utah. I'm from Utah. What part of Utah are you from? So we have we have two people that are sometimes on here from Utah. One I haven't seen in a while. The other one is up from Ogden area. So I'm just curious as to what part of Utah you're from. Oh, Tooele. Cool. I'm in Camas, if you know where Camas is. It's up east of Park City, right at the base of the Uinta Mountains. So that's where I live. I had always wanted to live in the mountains in a small town. It's not so small anymore, unfortunately. So now I'm kind of looking to move to Idaho off the grid, but I won't be able to till I can retire because where I want to go, there's no internet, no phones, and no dogs. There's no people. So I would not have a job. Yeah, I love it too. The thing I like about it is I can come home from work and be on a trail in like 10 or 15 minutes. So I usually keep a pack in my car with the dog's water and stuff. And then I just grab the dogs and we're on a trail. It's so nice. I used to go camping up here. As a kid, we used to do girls camp up here. And so from the time I was 12 years old, I knew this is where I wanted to live and have horses and stuff, which I did. I had my stint with horses and horse training and all of that stuff. But they get expensive. And then I got really into search and rescue dog training, and then I didn't have time for the horses. Emily, I wouldn't mind moving to Virginia because that's where my brother lives, but I'm not a city girl. I can't do a city. I have to be kind of remote, and if I didn't have to work, I honest to gosh would be a hermit. So as much as I love Virginia, although it does get humid in the summer, and I'm not used to humidity, and I can take cold more than I can take hot. Okay, I'm going to back up and go answer some questions. I'm glad I restarted this because I would have just thought that nobody was here tonight. Okay, this is a good question. So Anthony's asking, hi, I'm moving homes. What is the first thing to focus on when I move from old to new home? So Anthony, are you staying in California or are you going to a different state? If you're going to a fun state like what I consider fun, like Hawaii or Montana or like something like that, I would say make sure you have an extra room for your dog trainer to come visit. I'm kidding. So the first thing I would do is give your dog a couple days to settle in. So just like when you bring a new dog home, you want to give them a few days to settle in, get used to their new surroundings, and get them just on a schedule. So the schedule that you're on now, keep that schedule up. So first thing in the morning, go out and go potty, feed, training session, walk, like whatever it is you do that is your structure and your schedule, keep that up. Except I would maybe not do the training session yet. I would just, get on that schedule of potty, feeding, walk, and that kind of stuff. And the first thing you want to do is teach your dog what door you want them to go potty, because that's going to be the most important thing to eliminate accidents or prevent accidents. So you want to make sure that, if you say, hey, do you need to go potty? And then go to the door that you want the dog to use so that your dog learns where to go potty. That's the first and most important thing. And then just kind of get them set up like this is where your crate's going to be, this is where your bed's going to be, and then keep the structure and everything the same. Because remember, dogs need predictability and structure. So just so that they still know, okay, I'm still getting fed at the same time, unless you're going to a place where there's a time change. So I'm still getting fed. We're still going to go for walks, things like that. And kind of be ready for when you go for walks. This is going to be all new things and all new smells for your dogs. So make sure you let your dog have some freedom to sniff and explore and kind of get used to it. And then after a few days, maybe 2 to 4 days, depending on your dog, then start to add in some training sessions and things like that. So yeah, that's a really good question. Just kind of know that it's going to be a bit different. So whenever I take a board and train, when I have a board and train puppy come, the first day, oh Jade, it's not candy, it's aspirin. I've had a headache all day, so I get headaches all the time. So I'm just going to take an Excedrin. Whenever I have a board and train puppy, the first day they're usually really shy, and they usually have some accidents because they're nervous. The last board and train puppy that I just had was really was scared of my dogs, didn't want to play, was super nervous, would do submissive peeing all the time. And by the second or third day, she learned how to use the dog door, stuff like that. So then it got better, and it was about 3 or 4 days. And then she was totally fine, settled in. So, but we just went potty every hour, taught her where the back door was. She learned how to use the dog door for my dogs, but we just did. And usually, even when I'm doing board and train, I will even just get on a structure first for a day or two before I start the training. So I let them settle in, kind of get used to everything, and then we start training. So that's what I would do. Jade, what are you doing? Oh, I think she needs water. Okay. Oh, so you are going, I scrolled down to see where you were. So you're just moving places in California. I used to visit California quite a bit when I was a kid because that's where my grandparents lived. So in the summer, here, Jake, I'll get you some water. In the summer, when I wasn't camping or hiking, we would actually go to California and visit my grandparents. And I loved it because I have to admit I do love the beach. I love the ocean and swim. I never could pick up surfing because I'm not coordinated enough, but I would rent a board and just kind of paddle out and lay on it and play. But yeah, I do love the beach, and I love the smell of palm trees. Okay. Okay, I got Deb, got Rhonda. Okay, Nicole. So I'm having issues with Moose on potty training, but I think it has more to do with separation anxiety, as I can see on the cameras that he goes like 15 minutes after I leave the house. I take him out for 30 minutes right before I leave and have been following potty training techniques, but it's not working. Okay, so remind me, how old is Moose? You know what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start writing down your dog's names and ages so I don't have to. So Emily, I know you have Raven. And Julie, I know you have Dakota. And Ellie, is it Ellie? That's a good question, Deb. So I'll go back and answer that one about introducing one room at a time. So yes, it could be separation anxiety. One of the dogs that I just had board and train here had separation anxiety, and I mean, it was bad. If I went to the bathroom and closed the door, the dog was on the outside whining, and not just a little whine, but like a shrieking, I'm going to die because you left me kind of whine. And if I had to leave like for an hour, I had to put the dog in the crate, and she would pee in the crate every single time. She's potty trained at home. It was just an anxiety thing. And like, this is how bad it was. The puppies are on different food than my adult dogs. So I feed the puppies in the kitchen because there's a baby gate. She would not eat. She would cry until I went in the kitchen with her. And then she would eat as long as I was standing there. So I'd have to put her in there with her food, hurry, then feed my 3 dogs, and then go back and stand with her. But during that time where I left her to go feed my dog, she would piddle on the floor. So it is more of a separation anxiety thing. Depending on the age of your dog, and I'm just, about 12 months. So I'll just put 1 year. Oh, and he's been kicked out of 2 previous houses. Do you know why he was surrendered out of his previous houses? Was it for potty training issues or separation anxiety? Because those are hard. Since he's 1, I would probably go to your vet and get some anti-anxiety medicine. So since I'm not a vet, I can't tell you what to get. That's up to your vet. But something to help reduce the anxiety. Now you could also, I had a client today that I recommended that for separation anxiety. And she's very against medicine. She didn't want to do medicine. And I said, well, you might actually have to, but in the meantime, if you want to try something else, try CBD oil. So you could try CBD, or you may have to get something from your vet and work on a separation anxiety protocol at the same time. And what that means, and it can be a long process. It can take 8 months to a year to fix. So we used to teach it in the crate, but now they're doing it out of the crate and just teaching the dog how to be okay out of the crate. So the first thing you want to do is get your dog used to departure cues. So like, because your dog is starting to get anxious before you even leave. When your dog sees you pick up your keys or pick up your purse or put on your coat, he's already thinking, oh, mom's getting ready to leave. I'm getting anxious. So one thing you can do is like pick up your keys, walk around, put your keys down, don't leave. Get up, put on your coat, walk around the house, take off your coat, and sit down. So the cues that he sees don't mean that you're going to leave anymore. And then you can like put your coat on. I mean, now I know summer's coming, but put whatever you put on, like grab your purse, your backpack, your keys, walk to the door, and then turn around and come back in. This whole time, you're not saying anything to the dog. Like you're making it so boring and so nonchalant. And then you can walk, turn the handle, and then turn it back, put your purse down, go walk around. So all of these cues that your dog picks up on, make them like not mean that you're leaving. Then you actually will open the door, close the door, and then not leave. And then you can open the door, step out, come right back in. Step out for 1 second, come back in. And you want to try, and I'm glad that you have camera, because you want to come back right before your dog starts to whine, or right before you start to see like pacing or panting. The first sign that your dog starts to show anxiety, you want to come back in. So yeah, taking him out to go potty, that you don't really follow the same potty training techniques, because this is different. This is like anxiety, and it could be stress pee. It could be, a lot of different things. So a lot of times you can go through the separation anxiety protocol, but it's going to go faster and work faster and better if you have some meds on board. And it kind of depends on how extensive it is. Like when you leave, does Moose chew on furniture or tear down blinds? Or, I had a dog that spent 4 hours trying to dig out of the house. So like sheetrock, carpet, everything was dug up. That was when I first got him, and I actually did not know that he had separation anxiety. You can, if you absolutely have to, get, like I have the Alcatraz crate in my living room, which means the dogs can't break out of it, can't destroy anything, but keep in mind that they're still going to have anxiety, and it's not going to help. So you can't leave. Then the first thing you do is desensitize him to departure cues. Then you start to like leave for 1 second, come back in, leave for 5 seconds, come back in. And when you leave and come back, you make it really like you don't even pay any attention. So my client today said, when I come back, my dog is just like barking and shrieking, and I literally have to get down on the ground and let the dog give me a hug. And I said, but that's reinforcing that behavior, and you want it to be not a big deal. Okay. So you want it to not be like, when I leave, I say, oh, you guys be good, I'll miss you. And which is true. But right now, thank goodness I don't have dogs with separation anxiety. Jade does a little bit, but not bad. And when I come home, I'm always, I have to crate Maddie, because Maddie would eat the whole house because she's on prednisone. But I say, oh, you guys, I missed you. And I let him out, let's go potty, let's eat dinner. But if you have a separation anxiety dog, you want to just come home, set your stuff down, kind of ignore the dog, and then be like, oh, hey, Moose, how's it going? And then give him attention, because you want to like lower that anxiety level and make it really boring. I know Pupford has a separation anxiety course, the courses that they do. I haven't seen the whole thing, but it might be worth checking out because it'll be a lot cheaper to buy that course for, I think they're like $20 and go through it than to hire a trainer. If you hire a trainer to help you through it, I mean, it'll help. I'm not telling you not to do it, but sometimes it can be $1,500 to $2,000. And it can take a long time. So it still could take a long time. Some other things you could do, if you have a neighbor, if you have to work outside of the home or if you have to leave, see if a neighbor can come stay with your dog, or see if if Moose can go have a play date with another neighbor's dog. You could have a dog walker come over halfway through the day and just let Moose out, play with him, spend some time with him, and then leave, just so it kind of breaks up the day. If he's good with other dogs, like doggy daycare might be an option too, so that he's not by himself. So there are options, but if you're in a situation where you don't have those options, he has to stay home and you have to leave, then I would start working on those departures now and building up time. And then maybe talking to your vet about getting some anxiety meds on board, because that's going to help calm him down. But yes, it's very hard. So Deb, you don't need to know. When moving, do you introduce one room area at a time? Yes, I mean, you could do it either way. When I have a puppy come, I usually block off the upstairs because it's all carpet, and a new dog smelling new things could mark. They could smell smells from previous owners, and so I usually introduce them first to the dining room and living room, because that's where they're going to be spending most of their time. But yeah, you can do one room at a time. If you're worried about your dog marking or peeing, if you have an older dog that is going to be fine, then you could just let him explore and let him sniff and do it that way. If you have a dog that's a little bit more shy and timid, then I would probably go with them and just say, oh, look, this is the new bathroom, check it out. And then oh, look, this is so-and-so's bedroom, come sniff. And then you can do it that way as well. So it kind of depends on the dog, but either way is going to be right. So I watch, just because Jade, when I did some pet sitting. I am not really a pet sitter, but I did this as a favor to a client who had some family in town, and they were going to the lake for the day, and they asked if I would come over partway through the day and stay for 2 hours and take the dogs for a walk and feed them and all this stuff. So I did, and I brought my dog, who is an adult dog, but she marks, but I'd never dreamed that she would mark in somebody's house. And sure enough, when I was getting the leashes, she was sniffing around, and she actually lifted her leg on one of their big wood beams. I mean, thank goodness it wasn't sheetrock, because it was easy to clean. But I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But there was 2 dogs in there. She smelled it, wanted to mark. I've come to the conclusion that I think when Jade was in utero, she was between 2 male puppies, because she got a lot of testosterone. She marks like no female dog I've ever seen. And a lot of times she lifts her leg. So even though she's a female, she very much acts like a male sometimes. So with Jade, I would keep her on a leash and introduce her one room at a time, so that I could keep an eye on her and keep her from marking and interrupt her if I do see her marking. Okay, Jill, let me write your name down. From Quebec. Okay. How do you get puppy to stop jumping and nipping kids? Okay, great question. So for the jumping, we'll do the jumping first. For jumping, dogs jump because they want attention. So I tell kids, turn your back and ignore the dog. So for you guys that have joined me every week, this is going to be a little bit repetitive because you've probably heard this. Jade is a jumper, and the reason that she jumps is because she's a cute little pit bull mix, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, she's so cute." And if I say, "Well, I don't want her to jump, so please turn your back and ignore her," so then she'll jump, and they'll say, "Oh, Jade, you got to get down. Your mom's going to get mad." And I'm like, "Well, you just reinforced it. Like you gave her attention, even if it's negative attention. She doesn't know what that means." So I tell people to turn their back. And then I will use an off cue, like I'll say, "Jade, off," and then I'll ask her to sit. So think of something that's incompatible with jumping, which is sitting. If your dog is sitting, your dog can't be jumping. So I always ask kids like, "Hey, do you want to help me train the dog?" It'd be so helpful. Make the kids think that they're really helping and that it's invaluable that they're helping you do this. And then ask them, like, if the puppy starts jumping on you, I just want you to turn your back and ignore them, walk away. Depending on the age of the kids, like they can turn around and say, "Fido, sit," and then only give the dog attention when the dog is sitting and not jumping, either or 4 on the floor. So 4 feet on the floor or sitting. And then if the dog jumps again, they should turn their back, walk away, ignore. If you're there, then you can say, like, "Hey, Fido, off." So I do use an off cue, which means get off. Try not to use down because down means lay down. And so you can say off and then sit and then tell the kids, "Okay, now he's sitting. Now you can give treats. Now you can give attention, pet, like all that kind of stuff." So that's what I do for jumping. Now, if you have even one person that allows your dog to jump, it's still going to reinforce that behavior. So as hard as I work on Jade to not jump, I have 2 roommates right now. They're actually cousins that just moved in, which I thought was only going to be a little while. It's turned into 2 years. But whenever they come home, Jade jumps on them and they pet her and say hi. So it's kind of like when you play slot machine. If you win every once in a while, you will keep trying to see if you're going to win. So that's why she still jumps, because sometimes she gets rewarded and sometimes she gets reinforced for it. The reason that I don't play slot machines is because I never win. And so it's like, well, I'm just wasting my time and money, so I'm not going to even play because I don't win. I have a friend who does win almost every single time. And so he plays all the time. And he'll play for hours and hours and hours. And he might lose $300, but then he'll win 500. So in essence, he won 200. But he does that enough that he keeps playing to see if he's going to win. So it's the same thing. Everyone has to be on board, and nobody can reinforce the jumping. Otherwise, the dog will still do it, and it'll be harder to stop. Now, as far as nipping, realize that puppies explore the world with their mouth, and it's normal for puppies to bite and nip because that's what they do. That's how they play. So what I do for nipping and biting is the 3-strike bite rule. And that means the first time the dog nips, you can redirect to a toy and just say, you can't bite me, but here's your, whatever this is called. Like, here's this, you can chew on this, and redirect to a toy. Then if the dog leaves it and doesn't want this and goes back to biting, then strike 2 is you calmly pick up your puppy with a toy and put him in a crate. So it's not a punishment because he's going in with a toy to chew and a 1-minute timeout. So let him decompress for 1 minute, let him chill out, then let him out. If he goes back to biting a 3rd time, then it's, again, calmly pick him up. He's not in trouble because he's just doing what puppies do. So calmly pick him up, put him back in the crate with a toy, cover the crate, and he gets a nap. So he's in there for like an hour. The humans get a break, and the dog gets some time to decompress and, chill, mellow out. So that's what I do. With kids, sometimes I will also teach them. We do this kind of with dog bite prevention, but you could do it with puppy nipping too. So I teach kids, like, if a dog starts biting, like, stand really still and be a tree. So you're going to fold in your oak tree, your branches, and just be really still. A lot of kids, if a dog starts nipping, they might scream, they might flail their arms like, the dog's biting me. And that just amps the dog up more, and the dog thinks they're playing. So the dog's going to keep doing it. But if you stand really still and make it really boring, the dog's going to give up. Like, okay, this is boring. I might as well go do something else. So I have kids do that too. And then as the parent, like, then you can redirect the dog, like, okay, you can't bite the kids, and besides that, they're frozen. They're a statue right now. Here's your toy, and you can go play with your toy. So that's what I would do. I've had puppies stay with me. I say that I do board and train just so I have more empathy for you guys that have puppies. And because you guys, it's exhausting. Honestly, I don't know how y'all do it. I do it for like 7 days at a time, and I'm exhausted. I get no sleep. I have to get up in the middle of the night with them. They're chewing on tables. They're chewing on me. Sometimes I have bloody hands, and so I have to, like, crate them. Thank goodness I have 3 really good dogs that play, so I can just send them outside, and it's like, okay, it's playtime. I do supervise their play, by the way, but I can send them out to play and kind of get a reprieve. But yeah, having a puppy is a lot of work. And there was one puppy that was relentless about chewing on the table, on my computer cords, on me, on my shoes. So I constantly had to watch and redirect. And this was the dog that also had separation anxiety. So when I crated, she would cry. She would, like, scream. But there's sometimes when, she could still see me. She still knew I was there. So I just kind of had to let her cry, because it's like, I need a break. Like, redirecting from all that chewing and biting all the time. Sometimes the humans just need a break. So it's okay to crate your dog. But yeah, and then sometimes you have to teach the kids too. And again, it depends on their age. So if they're like 2 or 3, they might not understand. 4 or 5-year-olds should understand, like, don't scream, don't run, don't flail. If you have a herding breed type, then, that's what they were bred to do, is herd and move large animals with their teeth. And so, they'll nip. So if your child starts to run, the dog's going to try to herd them, and might do that by nipping. So if you can teach them to stand still and not run, it can calm the dog down. So I hope that answered your question. Jill. Sorry, it's a 2 Excedrin day. How do you introduce a puppy to a pool? Henry is 3.5 months. Okay, I'm going to write your dog's name down so I know it for next time. Okay. I'll just tell you how I do it. So I have a kiddie pool, and I'll take the dog up and first, like, let him sniff or whatever. And then I usually will get in and try to get the dog to come in with me. I've had, out of all my dogs, well, my last 8 pit bulls, I've only had one not like the water. He did not like the water. He wouldn't get in the pool, and I just didn't make him. The other ones, they like to get in and cool off. So they'll actually get in and lay down and cool off. But when I try to get him used to it, a lot of times, like I'll just go step in it and have treats and just, see if I can lure them in, like, hey, do you want to come get some treats? And they see that I'm in the water, so then they get in the water. But sometimes you can like introduce it first without the water and throw some treats inside the pool and let them go in and get the treats, because the feel of the pool is going to be different. So that's good, like substrate socialization, like get them used to the feel of the pool without the water, and then fill it up with water, and then you can kind of like splash it, treat, just pair it with treats, and then you can get in, and then see if you can get your dog to come in with you, and that's usually how I do it. If your dog absolutely hates the pool and hates water, I wouldn't force it. I go to a canal a lot where my dogs like to swim, but again, I had one dog who he did have a spinal cord injury, so I'm not sure how well he could swim anyway. But it was good in that he would just go down and get a drink, but he wouldn't get in, and I didn't force him. I'm just like, he doesn't like to. And it's kind of like if there's something you hate to do, why force it? So a good example, this might be a little bit too much information, but when I was going through a divorce and we were in marriage counseling, our counselor said, okay, you have to do something he likes to do. He should do something you like to do. So I took him hiking because that's what I like to do. And he hated it. He said, this isn't hiking, this is climbing. And it really wasn't climbing. It was the easiest trail I knew. He did not enjoy it. He didn't have fun. So I never made him do it again. So I had to go to a Star Wars movie. I don't like science fiction. I don't like those kinds, I have seen a lot of the Star Wars movies, but I don't care for them. Battlestar Galactica, like those kind of science fiction, I'm just not into them. So I had to go sit through a Star Wars movie for him. But if it's not something, and yeah, I get when you're married, you do things for your spouse or with your spouse that you might not necessarily like. But I thought, if he really hates hiking, and when I would go ride horses, I would go by myself because he hated to ride horses. And so I didn't make him go. So we ended up getting divorced anyway. But point is, if your dog doesn't like the pool or doesn't like water, I would just not make him do it. We used to put a pool out in the big yard when I worked at the rescue, and some of the dogs loved to go in and lay in it and get cooled off and play in it, and some dogs would just avoid it. They just didn't like it, so we wouldn't force it. Okay, Haley, where are you from? I'm writing down your name. We got some new people tonight. That's awesome. Okay, my home has a shared community potty area, so my vet recommended using my private courtyard, which has AstroTurf down for the potty area until fully vaccinated. Do you think this will pose a problem with potty training once fully vaccinated? Nope, I think you'll be fine, especially if your courtyard has AstroTurf, because it's going to feel like grass. It might not smell the same as grass, but it's going to feel like grass. And that's the most important part, is the dog learns like what it feels like. So I think you'll have an easier time transitioning. When you go out to the private courtyard with the AstroTurf, just use the words like go potty and walk around. And then once your puppy goes potty, then like praise, like, oh, good potty, you can give a treat. And then once your dog's fully vaccinated, then you can start going to the other area and do the exact same thing, like walk around and say, go potty, and then reward. So I think you'll be just fine. In fact, I like that idea better than the potty pads. I'm not a big fan of potty pads because I think it teaches the dog to go in the house, and a lot of times they just shred them anyway. So I honestly wish I would have taught one of my dogs to use that AstroTurf or the the fake type of grass, like the pea patches, potty patches. I flew with Maddie once and to Emily, we were going to Virginia to see my nephew graduate from high school. And I asked where the potty area was, and I honestly thought that it was like an outside area. And so, which she totally would have used. They showed us a little room, and there was a little patch. Okay, Maddie's a big girl. She's a 70-pound pit bull. There was a little patch, and I'm looking at it like, you got to be kidding me. This is where you want my dog to go potty? Like, dogs need to walk around and sniff. There wasn't even room for her to turn around. So I put her on it, and I'm like, go potty, go potty. She wouldn't. She's like, I don't know what this is. This isn't enough room. And the poor girl had already held it for I don't know how many hours. Plus, we had like a 3-hour layover. So I finally took her behind an elevator, and I'm like, Maddie, you have my permission to pee on the carpet. Just go to the bathroom. I'll clean it up. I thought I'll just clean it up. But you've got to empty your bladder. She wouldn't. She would not go to the bathroom. She held it for like 10 hours. So I was proud of her for that. But I also then thought, okay, if I ever plan to travel with a dog again, they need to get used to peeing on the fake grass. Because it feels a little bit the same, but it's different. And the ones in the airport there, it just wasn't big enough for her. But yeah, I think you'll be fine. Okay, Nicole, I'm trying to get him used to a crate, but he freaks out in there. He does play with Wilma while I'm gone, but it seems like on the camera he looks anxious to start. So with the crate training, you have to go really slow so that, let's see if we can use this. It just so happens that I have Jade's crate here. So I would start with the door open. Hi, Jade. I'm going to toss it in, let her go part way in, come out. Whoops, bad shot. And then I'm going to throw it further in. But I'm always going to allow her to come out if she wants. Good girl. Here. Eventually, I would throw them back farther and farther and farther until she goes all the way in. I'm not going to take the time to do that, but let's just pretend that Jade is in the crate. Then what I would do is once she goes in and turns around and comes out like 3 or 4 times in a row, then I would take the door and close it and then open it and let her out. And do that like 3 or 4 times. So just close it, open it, let him out. Then the next step would be close it, latch it, unlatch it, let him out. So you're going to take the crate training and break it up into ever so tiny increments. And then always allow the dog to come back out. And then practice with the door. Close, open, come out. Close, open, come out. Then you can start working on, now she's going in. Then you can start working on duration where you close the door, count to 5, open it, let them come out. Close it, count to 7, open it, let them come out. Once they can stay in for like 10 seconds, then you're going to close it, stand up, get back down, open it, come out. Stand up, take a step away. So it's kind of like the separation anxiety. You do the exact same thing you would do with the front door where you close it, wait, and then come back in. Do the same thing with the crate where you walk away, come back, let them out. Walk 2 steps away, come back, let them out. Walk like literally behind a wall, come back, let them out. And you can even do a partial obstruction where you kind of go partway behind a wall so the dog can still see half of you and then come back and let him out. So you want to go really, really slow with the crate training and go little by little. The other thing that I do is I always give the dogs like something fun and high value to do in the crate. So, but this now for separation anxiety though, keep in mind that when the toy runs out or the chew item runs out, they go back to being anxious. But when I'm home, I will give my dogs their chew items. So like a stuffed Kong with peanut butter. Tonight I brought home bully sticks. And so now since Maddie usually gets her bully sticks in her crate, she runs right to her crate because she knows that's where she gets her yummy stuff to chew on. So I'll give them something like this, stuffed with something. I'll do a stuffed Kong. They get their yak chews. They get their really fun items in their crate so that they know that that's a really fun place to hang out. And it's also calming for them because chewing on stuff, you could even do a licky mat and spread it with baby food or peanut butter or pumpkin and then freeze it and give it to your dog in the crate. So that you want to create that positive, like, oh, I love being in my crate because that's where I get my stuffed Kong or my licky mat or my yak chew, and do that so that it makes it like a really fun place to be. And it sounds like if your dog will play with Wilma, and I'm assuming Wilma's a dog, then it could just be a separation from you. So some dogs, like I was really lucky with Jagger. When I got Jagger, I made the mistake of, well, I didn't know he had separation anxiety, but I had this nice room set up. I had him in a crate, soft music playing. He busted out of the crate and then spent 4 hours trying to dig out of the room. What I learned later is that he was fine as long as he was with the other dogs. So if he was with the other dogs, I had no problem. So after that, it was fine. I just left him out. He was one that just never chewed anything, or, he learned to use the dog door. So as long as he was with the other two dogs, he was great. Some dogs, though, they have separation anxiety from people or their specific person. And that's when you have to go through the protocol of like you leaving, coming back, leaving, coming back. You can also use like a treat dispenser. My coworker had one. I can't remember what brand it was, but she could actually watch her dogs on camera. And then if they were being calm, like she could have it dispense a treat. So you could treat them for being calm. So when your dog is calm, like dispense a treat. She could also talk to her dogs through that. And I remember when she was showing me how it worked, like one time she had to say, Bart, don't you dare chew on that carpet. And then he would stop because he heard mom's voice. Now with separation anxiety dogs, I've had some clients where that works great, where they hear mom's voice and it's like, hey, it's okay, calm down. But other ones, it makes them more anxious. So I would be careful with that. You could kind of play with it and see which one works with your dog. Like one of my clients' dogs would start to get anxious and she would say, hey, Murphy, it's mom. It's okay. Lay down. And then he would like lay back down and be calm again. But with some dogs, it makes them more anxious because they can hear your voice, but they can't see you. So yeah, I would just go slower with the crate training. And then maybe see if you have somebody that can come in halfway through and like let them out, take them for a walk, do something. Another thing you could do like in the morning is do some enrichment, like snuffle mat, flirt pole. Back to the nipping at the kids. I just remembered another thing that I like to do with puppies is the flirt pole, because the kids can do it and it puts their hands far away from where the toy is. And so the dog's running around and nipping and chewing at the toy and not their hands. So I forgot to add that. But doing a flirt pole, doing nose work, snuffle mat, stuff like that, that can help tire Moose out before you leave, just to get him a little bit. And then I would honestly try some CBD oil or ask your vet for some anti-anxiety meds and see if that helps. And if you haven't already checked out the separation anxiety course from Pupford, I believe she's certified in separation anxiety. You actually can get a certification now for separation anxiety. So I think that's all she does. So it's looks like it's a really, really good course. So you could check that out too. Okay, so Rhonda, I don't have my pup yet. I get her on June 4th. What advice do you have for the transition? I did a podcast with Devin, and I'm sure it's still available somewhere on the Pupford either Facebook page or something, where we talk about bringing your dog home. So when you bring your dog home, the first thing that I would do is give your dog a few days to settle in. Show them where the crate is. I would start crate training right off the bat. Because the more the dog learns not to be in the crate, then they don't want to go in the crate. I would start right off crate training at night, but you can even put the crate by your bed so that you can hear it in the middle of the night, because your dog will probably have to go out in the middle of the night. But just get them on a schedule. So, first thing in the morning, you're going to go right outside and go potty. I let them out of the crate. I carry them outside so that they don't pee on the way outside. So I take them out, tell them go potty, praise them, give them a treat. Then I come in, give them breakfast. Half hour after breakfast, we go outside and go potty again. And then it's playtime. Then they get to play with my dogs for a little bit, or I'll play with a toy, tug toy, snuffle mat, or treat dispensing toy, or something like that. And then if you have to work, then it's like crate time, but at least by then they're like tired out. But just get them on a structure and a schedule. Then noon, have somebody come and let your dog out, potty, treat, back in the crate. If you get to work from home, then I would take him out at noon. I do nap times at my house. So like in the morning before I go see my first client, it's potty, food, potty again, a playtime, and then they go take a nap. And then when they get up from their nap, really go potty after a nap. Then we do a training session. Then we do like our first training session. And then after the training session, we go out potty again. After training, then I let them play. Then it's dinner. So we just get this schedule, and you can do it whatever works with your schedule. But I would let the dog settle in first and get used to you and get on that schedule, and then you can start training. And honestly, if you have a new puppy that's like 8 weeks old, I do more socialization than anything. Like I will do eye contact. So I will reward them every time they check in with me and give me eye contact. I start socializing with different floor surfaces. So carpet versus linoleum versus wood versus cement versus a kiddie pool. And I start handling. So ears, look at their teeth. I handle their paws, their nails, their butt, their tail. So I do lots of that. Then another day I might do sound desensitization. So I'll get them used to like thunder sounds, fireworks, vacuums, anything that's going to be really novel in your environment, and anything that your dog's going to see. Like if you're into biking or you're into kayaking or you're into different stuff, then you want to get your dog used to that. When your dog is between, like, it depends on which book you read. Some say 8 to 10 weeks, some say 10 to 12 weeks. But right in there, your dogs have a fear period. So you want to make sure that every encounter is positive. So only introduce to other dogs that are your dog's size and energy level, or adult dog. Like, I will introduce puppies to my 11-year-old because she's a gentle giant. She's very chill. And so just make sure that everything's positive. You can teach any dog of any age how to sit down, stay calm. Like, all my dogs have been rescues, and I've never gotten them at 8 weeks old. So the most important part is just getting on that routine. Start making positive associations with everything. Like I said, sounds. If you have kids, have the kids dress up, put wigs on, put sunglasses on, put hats on, hoodies. I was at a client's house, and the kid came down in his karate uniform with his headgear, and the dog barked at him because he didn't recognize that was his human brother in the karate suit. So we actually used that for a training session, and I'm like, oh, what is that? Treat, 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 treat. And then I gave the kid some treats and let him toss some treats to the dog, and then hold out his hand and see if the dog wanted to come up and take the treat. So playing dress up is great for dogs, especially right now. Some people with COVID are in lockdown, or they have curfews and stuff. So if you can't get out and socialize, then do a lot of dress up. I met a dog today, in fact, that was super shy and timid, and it's what I call a COVID dog. They got the dog during COVID and couldn't socialize, and so the dog's really kind of shy around other dogs, but also very timid around people. But you can help that by just doing dress up. The other thing you can do is go to Petco, but stay in your car and be like, oh, look, there's a person, treat. Oh, look, there's a guy with a hat, treat. Oh, look, there's a dog, treat. So they don't necessarily have to interact, but just seeing it and then having it paired with treats, so that they're like, oh, I like it when I see men with hoodies, I get treats. I get a lot of dogs that are scared of men with baseball hats on, or sunglasses, or hoodies. So make sure you socialize your dog to them. Kids, things like that. So I really do a lot of socialization first before I start. Basically, so I had a puppy for 7-8 days, maybe 9 days, I can't remember. He was only 9 weeks old, and so we did a lot of sound desensitization, socialization. The only two behaviors that I taught him were sit for food and come. So, and walk on leash, because the owner wanted that. So we did those three things. We did sit. Usually in a week, I can teach a puppy like all of the basics, but it depends on the age. For a dog that young, there's no way. So we just did sit for food. We did come when I call you, and we did loose leash walking. And everything else was like learning how to play with other dogs, learning how to meet other dogs, meeting children, meeting, walking on floor surfaces. I did a ton of handling. So I handled his ears. I looked at his teeth. I rubbed my fingers over his teeth. I played with his nails. We did the most of during that time. And then getting him on a schedule. He was such a cute little dog. He's a French bulldog. And what I noticed about him, it took me like a day to figure this out, but he would go out and go potty, and then he would come back in and pee in the house. And I'm like, you just went out. But what I discovered is he doesn't empty his bladder fully. So we would go out long enough for him to pee 4 times, then he was done. So he would pee, and I'd say, oh, you're not done yet. Keep going. Let's go sniff. And I'd even have to walk around with him sometimes, and then he'd pee again. And he wouldn't poop in the morning until after he ate. So about 20 to 30 minutes after he ate, we went back out again, and that's when he did his business. Um, so that's something to keep in mind too. Some dogs empty their bladder fully. So yeah, just kind of get to know your dog. Let your dog get to know you and get on a scale. Don't worry about time for that. The socialization period though, once it's over. And so that's what you really want to do the most of, so that you have a really well-rounded, behaviorally sound dog. So that's what I would do. And then still you can do sit for food, stuff like that. Oh, yeah, the last owner said he destroyed the house when they would leave. That makes sense. So if he does that, then yeah, he's definitely going to need meds. And let's see. Michelle, I will go back and answer your question, so don't think I skipped over you. Yeah, so if he's chewing and going to the bathroom in the house, that's definitely separation anxiety. Let's see. You come 4 hours. Yeah, if you don't have, I know there are some trainers that just say you have to suspend absences. There's no other way. There's no option. But some of us have to work. Like I couldn't work from home. I go to clients' houses. So does Moose break out of crates? Because my dog broke out of 2 different crates. I had to get the Alcatraz crate so that he couldn't break out and destroy things. And then I would work from there on the departure cues, and I'd first work on the crate training and create a really comfortable, good place to be. What about doggy daycare? Is that an option for you to send Moose to doggy daycare during the day while you work, so that he has something to do and other things to do and play, other dogs to play with? That might be an option. Let's see. Okay, Michelle. Oh, Michelle, where are you from? Because I can enter you in the drawing. And Haley, if you're still there, I need to know where you're from. Okay, I'm going to be taking care of my son's 2 dogs in a couple of weeks. I have 2 dogs myself. What would you recommend me to do to get them to get along with each other? Great question. So the first thing, one thing I don't do is I don't let all 3 of my dogs swarm one dog and sniff, because that can scare the crap out of the one dog. I would introduce each dog separately. So take one of your dogs, one of your son's dogs, and maybe go for a parallel walk. So just go for a walk, let them walk side, let them get a couple of sniffs in, see if they're going to be okay. If you see them wanting to play or doing a play bow or something like that, then it's probably going to be fine. Then you could take them back and, drop one of the leashes, see if they play. I'd really watch, body language, stuff like that. And then I would take the other 2 dogs. So your other one, your son's other one, take them on a parallel walk, do the same thing. And then if your dogs are really good and you know that your dogs are, I know my dogs are going to be good, but I don't want them to scare another dog. So then I might take 2 of my dogs out in the back with the dog that's coming to stay with me, and then let them have freedom. Once we go for a little walk and we know they're going to be okay, then I let them out in the yard, maybe 2 of mine and 1 of theirs, and let them sniff, let them play, and then bring that dog in, bring the other one out, do the same thing before you take all 4 of them out. And I definitely wouldn't try to do it by yourself, because if something does go wrong, you don't want to have an issue where you're the only one there. or if these are these, well, it really doesn't matter if they're large or small dogs. I would have a bucket of water ready or a hose that's already turned on. And when you get to the point where you're finally letting all 4 dogs out together, you want to make sure that each one, they all get along separately before putting them all together. And then once you let them play, if you have an issue, the best way to break up a dog fight is squirt them with a hose. Either dump a bucket of water over their head or squirt them with a hose. So I would make sure you have a hose there, a big bucket of water, just in case, but I would go really slow. I do parallel walks first, some butt sniffs, let them kind of, if they show interest, you can let them interact, but make sure, dogs always kind of they curve in and go right for the genitals. So make sure that you stay on the outside of the dog. So the leash is always on the outside. So if there is some growling or snarling, then you can each just pull the dog away. And then those 2 dogs I wouldn't let off leash together yet until they can get along. Sometimes you can use baby gates to keep dogs on different sides of the gate until they get used to each other. You could do that as well. But eventually, so a lot depends on the age of the dogs, whether they're intact or not, things like that. So there's a lot that goes into it. So that's why I go really slow. I start with walks. Then I start to do a little bit of sniffing. And then I might take them out to the yard and drop one of the leashes. So drop the leash of the calmest dog, and let that one run around, and you keep the leash of the other one, and then drop that leash, see if they play. And then if they're fine, you can take the leashes off. But then if you need to, you can grab the leashes or use the water. So that's how I do it. And that's how we used to do dog introductions at the rescue. Whenever we adopted a dog out, we would always have them meet the dogs of the house that they were going to, and we would always start off with a walk. So you're very nice to watch your son's 2 dogs. So last week I had 7 animals in my house. I had my 3 dogs, 2 puppy board and trains, which I usually don't do 2 at a time. I don't do 2 at a time, but this one just so happened that somebody was desperate. He was going out of town. So I said, okay. And I had my friend's diabetic cat. And since I have a diabetic cat and I know how to give the insulin shots, I said I'd take their cat. So I had 5 dogs and 2 cats. It was chaos. I needed a break. By the last one went home Sunday night. So, yeah, it can be a little hectic. Let's see. Yeah, Nicole, I would check out that course. I think it's going to help. Yes. So if you can take him to work, that's great. If you don't have that option sometimes, yeah, a friend, see if you have a friend that can take him. And because some dogs just want to be with a human, and hopefully it's not just being separated from you. Hello, Travis. Let me write Travis down really quick. But just see how it goes and see if your friend can take him. And just see how it goes. I would see if you have a friend that maybe has a fenced yard, but a high fence, because if a dog does have separation anxiety, some dogs will dig under or jump over. But if you have a friend that can hang out with them, that is great. That's perfect. I've heard of some people also saying, oh, Miss Cheryl called it. We have a few from Maryland tonight. I've heard of other people trading doggy sitting. So if you said to one of your friends, hey, if you can watch Moose while I go to work, then if you want to go do something, I'll watch your dog, or your dog can come over for a play date. So you kind of switch. And a lot of times that works out really well too, where you kind of take turns watching the dog. I'm probably going to do that with my cat that's diabetic. So since I watched my friend's cat for a week while they went on vacation, if I need to go somewhere, which I very rarely do I go anywhere, but if I do, it's like, hey, can you take my cat and give him his insulin twice a day? Honestly, I usually just have a pet sitter come over because I also have, 3 dogs, and one doesn't like to travel, doesn't like the car, is really nervous in new places. So I probably would leave her home and just take my other 2. So, but yeah, that's a great idea. See if you can get a friend. Okay. So Deb, I would like to get my 10-month-old lab to go jogging with me as he is extremely energetic. However, the minute we pick up the pace, he thinks we're playing and turns around and jumps on me and plays tug. Yeah, so I would start by walking and then walking a little bit faster, and I would drop treats on the ground to keep the dog from biting at the leash. And then maybe do a really slow kind of a walk jog and then pick it up. When the dog starts, if they think you're playing and starts to jump and tug with the leash, I just stop and not engage. So I'm like, oh, it's not a game, drop it. And then I just make it really boring. And then the dog usually drops the leash and then we start again. So I would try that. And since you're jogging, I would drop a treat maybe first every 5 steps. So jog, drop a treat, jog, drop a treat, because then the dog's going to be more focused on, oh, when's mom going to drop a treat? Than like jumping and biting on the leash. There's a dog that I walk that does that. He gets really excited certain times, and he's big. He's like 100 pounds. And he'll start to want to play tug, and I just say, drop it, and I stop. I stop walking. We don't engage. We don't play. He'll drop it, and then we start walking again. So yeah, you could drop treats like every 5 steps, every 10 steps, so that the dog is more focused on where's the treat going to drop than jumping on you or biting the leash. So that's what I would try. You could also maybe try a freedom harness, because the way that it goes, it's harder for them to chew on the leash. I think probably some dogs can, but if you do it right, well, I take that back. The dog today did pretty good, but as soon as we got the leash, the dog was not pulling anymore and the leash was looser, he could reach down and grab it. But it was harder for him to grab the leash in his mouth and tug on it that way. So another thing too is if he likes to jump and grab the leash, you could teach him to hold something in his mouth. Sorry, I have a fan. It's hot in here. You could teach your dog to carry a ball or carry something in his mouth while you're jogging, so he has something to do instead of like biting at the leash. So it kind of gives him a job, gets him something to do. But if he's only 10 months, he's still learning to go jogging. So like I said, I would start with a walk and then speed up the walk and treat. Like once you pick up the pace, go like 5 steps, treat, 10 steps, treat. Then do maybe like a walk jog and then treat. And then start jogging and then like drop treats every 5 or 10 steps. And you can even throw them in front of the dog a little bit. So the dog, you're actually running up to the treat, and then you don't have to like stop your pace. But then your dog's going to be looking more forward for the treat to drop rather than wanting to bite. You could also use a target stick. So I don't have one with me. Jade is sound asleep. So a target stick, you can get them on Amazon. But you know what else you could use is the flirt poles that Pupford sells, the extended ones. You could actually take the toy off the end and use that, and put like a little peanut butter on the end and put it in front of the dog's nose and just like do touch and then jog and just keep it right kind of in front of your dog's nose. So if I were jogging and this was my target stick, I would keep it like right here and jog. And every once in a while, I'd let the dog like lick a little bit of the peanut butter and then keep it out. So the dog is following the target stick and focused here on the peanut butter rather than the leash, if that makes sense. But yeah, you can get the target sticks from Amazon, or if you have the Pupford flirt poles that extend in and out, then you can get the right length. You could put some like a piece of cheese or a hot dog on the end, or peanut butter, and have your dog follow that. And I think that will help as well. Okay. Oh, Jill, an actual pool. Okay, I'll come back and answer that. I'm going to answer Travis's question. Okay, Mickey is afraid of going swimming, and I don't know why, even though I tried to get her used to it. I started at the lake with the leash, and it doesn't work well. Yeah, so some dogs just don't like water. I've had dogs that are terrified of the water. I went in a lake once where it was freezing cold, but I even went in to try and coax my dog in to come to me. And she got in part way and then is like, no way, I don't want to do it. Some trainers might tell you differently, but I think if a dog is afraid of water and doesn't want to go swimming, we shouldn't force them, because even though we want them to go swimming, then it's not always about us. So if they don't enjoy it, however, I will tell you, my German Shepherd at first didn't like water. But he had a really, really high prey drive. He was my search and rescue dog. And the way that I got him used to water is he was a tennis ball fanatic. And I actually, just not too long ago, had a client that he wanted his dog to get used to water. And luckily, so if you have a lab, and Jill, this would go for you too. Find a toy that they really like. And first, we would put it like right at the edge of the lake or the pool. So the dog just has to reach in and grab the ball. And then I'd put it in a little bit further. So the dog had to take a few steps in, get the ball, and come out. Then I'd put the ball in a little bit further. And the dog would have to like walk out even further, get the ball, and come out. So you can do it gradually like that, so that you're not throwing them in or you're not throwing the ball clear in. But that's actually how I got my Shepherd to learn to like water, is he wanted that ball so bad that he would do anything to get it. And so he would actually go in the water to get the ball and then come back out. And then we got to where we would throw like flip-flops in there. We'd throw Frisbees. Then it became a game to where he would go swim and get it and bring it back out. But it did take a while. But try that. Just try getting them used to it a little bit, where they just pick it up and then maybe put 1 or 2 feet in, and then a little bit further, a little bit further. And I can't remember what kind of dog it was that we took to the dog park. And at one of our dog parks, they have one side that has a big kind of a lake type thing. I mean, it's small. It's not a big lake, but it's a place for the dogs to swim, and they can dock dive. But that's what we did, is we just used the ball and just got it a little bit further in, and pretty soon the dog went in and was swimming and bringing it back out. So try that. and see if that works. If that doesn't work, your dog might just be like, I don't want to go swimming, and then don't make them. I took Jade to the canal the other day, and she actually, like last year, she didn't go in the water at all. And this year, the first time we went, she jumped right in and was swimming around and loved it. So it could be an age thing. The older they get, the more confident they get. But yeah, I've had a few dogs that just want nothing to do with the water, so I don't make them. I just let them hang out with me. Okay, so Jill, hopefully that answered your question too about the actual pool, not just the baby pool. Oh, Haley. Okay, so you're from Florida. Oh, you have 2 Great Danes. Cool. Oh, and you have an 8-week-old. Okay, so I'm gonna let me write down a few more names. And then we'll do a drawing. And then I'll stay on for another half hour and answer questions for those that want to stick around. Okay, so Haley, you have Claire and Emmy. I'm writing down dog names too so that I don't have to ask you like every single week. Okay, and then we have L.M. Wofford from Kentucky. Actually, I'll answer 2 more questions and then I'll do a drawing. I'll answer Lori's. And I'll answer Tracy's. Or Michelle. Okay, Michelle Tracy from Massachusetts. Okay, so Lori, I have a 7-month-old who gets super excited when playing. He comes running toward me and jumps continuously at me while nipping. Yeah, so I would turn around, walk away, try to ignore it if you can. If it's hard to redirect, you could try, like, if he's running towards you and jumping and nipping, try throwing a ball. If he likes to play ball, have him come and sit, and so he has to sit before you throw the ball. So that's going to teach a little bit of impulse control. So we used to do that with a dog that would actually bite. Like, he would jump up and try and bite the ball out of your hand. So he would come up and sit, and then I would make him wait while I threw the ball, and then I'd throw it. And then he would run and get it, and then I would pick the other one up. He'd come back. I would have him drop it. And sometimes I would make him wait while I pick up the ball and then throw it again. So then he would get used to, like, coming, sitting, waiting, and then I'd throw the ball again. So you could try that. You could try, like, turning your back. The other thing that I like to do for dogs like this that get really excited is the flirt pole. Because you have this long, like, fishing pole thing with a toy on the end. You can, move it around and your dog can chase it, but the pole is out from your body, so the dog's not going to be jumping on you or biting at you because they're going to be chasing what's on the end of the pole. But it teaches impulse control because I have them sit and wait, and then I will slowly, like, lower it to the ground, and then I'll say, go, and then have the dog chase it. Then they grab it, we play tug, they can do whatever, and then I'll teach a drop it. And then when I say drop it, I put the treat in front of their nose, they drop it for the treat, then I pick up the toy, and then they have to sit and wait again before the toy comes out again. So then they have to sit and wait, and then we go the other way, and we go in circles. So if he's constantly, like, jumping at you and nipping, I would maybe try flirt pole. It's going to tire him out as well, but it's going to keep him farther away from your body, and it's going to help with that impulse control and that jumping and nipping. He's still going to be able to bite at the toy, tug, play, and that's going to help with that too. sometimes too, when I have dogs that jump and nip, like, Jade over here jumps. She doesn't nip anymore, but she jumps. I'll just turn my back and say, sit. And then she knows that she'll get rewarded for sitting. So sometimes you just have to be really consistent with the biting too. With the nipping, I use the 3-strike bite rule, where the first time I redirect to a toy. If they don't want the toy and go back to nipping with me, I calmly put them in a crate with a toy so that it's not a punishment. And then I that's put them in there for like 1 to 2 minutes to calm down, let them out. If they bite again, it's strike 3, back in the crate with a toy, cover the crate, and they get a nap, and you get a break. So, if redirecting is hard, then I would do short timeouts and let them calm down and then bring them out. But try the flirt pole, because I think that would work great. Okay. I'm going to answer Tracy's and then we'll do a drawing. Travis, don't go away because I want to hear how your flight cue went. Your walk away. That's awesome that you're doing it. Okay, so Michelle, I have a 5-month-old male English bulldog named Benson. I love bulldogs. He has to wear a cone for a few days and he just stands completely still while it's on, like a statue. How do we get him used to his cone? So one thing that I will do is sometimes I'll use a target stick. So again, if you have the flirt pole that extends, you can put peanut butter on it or stick a hot dog on the end and put it right in front of your dog's nose and have them like move towards the end of the stick. You could also try hand targeting. So, put a treat in your hand, like, here, I'll turn my fan off. So when I teach hand targeting, I will put, like, I'm using the salmon treats right now. I'll put it in my fingers like this and just hold my hand out and let the dog, like, walk to get the treat. And then as soon as I feel their nose, then I click and treat and give them the treat. So you could do the hand targeting, or you could use the target stick with something on the end to get them to move. The longer it's on, I've found that they do get used to it. Was it because of a neuter? Does he have to wear it because of a neuter? If he really hates it, you could always put on like little boys tight whites. What do they call them? Tighty whities or something like that, so he can't get to his incision. That might be easier than doing a cone. So Jade had a little lump on her foot that we had taken off, and I'm not kidding. We went to the vet 3 times to have it rewrapped because she kept chewing the bandage off. I had booties on her. I had wraps on her. I tried everything, and finally we had to go to the cone. And because the vet was getting mad at me, it's like, okay, you've got to keep this dry and you've got to keep her from licking it. And it was next to impossible. So I finally had to do the cone, and she hated it. I mean, she hated it. And she would just stand there and pout like I was torturing her. But, then I just took her outside. I threw some treats out in the lawn and said, go hunt. Because they can still eat with it on. So she could still sniff and see that she could get treats. And then she finally got used to it that way. If he hates it, just know it'll get better. He'll get used to it after a few days, and he's not going to have to wear it forever. So just try to make it fun and combine some nose work in with it, or, teach him to hand target, or follow the stick with the peanut butter, so that it kind of gives him a job, gives him something to do where then he doesn't really have to focus on, why do I have to have this awful cone on? Because it feels weird for one, and it takes away their peripheral vision. So yeah, it can be tough. I absolutely hate it when my dogs are in cones. It's awful. Plus, they don't maneuver the dog door as well. But I have had dogs finally figure out like how to get their head through the dog door to go in and out. So they do get used to it. So just make it fun. Okay, so I sent Travis the walk away cue, which means to the dog, I turn 180 degrees and have the best party ever. So Travis says, I got her to stare at the dog, and while on leash, I told her walk away while walking the opposite way with the leash. When she did a 180-degree turn and moved 3 feet away from the door, I said yes and rewarded her with bacon, my go-to reward for that. Perfect. Good job. The other thing is remember that the walk away cue means best party and treats ever. So as soon as you say like walk away, and they walk away and you do the treat, then it's like, oh, good job, good job, good job. Or like, whatever you want, make it like super fun, super exciting, super rewarding. So some of my clients have actually used their flight cue is party time. And it's more to remind themselves that it's the best party ever. So I love that you're using bacon. And then also just make it like, oh, good job. Let's go this way. We're having so much fun. Oh, you're such a good dog. And make it really super fun and exciting while you're going the other way, and then treat. But good job. I'm so glad to hear that it's working out. Okay, let's do a drawing. And then those that want to go can. And if you want to stay on, I'll answer some more. Okay, I need to put all these in a bowl. And tonight's winner is Haley Hensley from Florida. So congratulations, Haley. So Haley, you need to email, I'm writing it in right now, hello@pupford.com, and let them know what kind of treats you want. So you just want a free bag of training treats. I lied, I'm not using salmon. These are chicken, but they look like salmon. They have the freeze-dried chicken. They have beef liver, rabbit, sweet potato, salmon. So if there's a flavor you haven't tried yet, now's your chance to try a free run. I will also email them and let them know that you're the winner, and they will send you out a free bag of treats. So congratulations. Okay, I'll go up and answer a few more. Emily, of course I'm still live. I stay on till all the questions are done. Let's see. I love it when you guys answer each other's questions too, because sometimes I don't get to them all. I can actually stay till 8 because I have company at my house, so I have to be home by 8. Let's see. Okay, so that's a good point. So Nicole, if you talk to them and they go looking for you, then I wouldn't. So that's just going to get them amped up. So Nicole, you do have the flirt pole or fetch in the morning and the snuffle mat. That's good too. Another thing that you could do, as long as the two dogs like don't resource guard or fight, is hide treats and stuff around the house, and so that they have some nose work and stuff to do and something fun to do while you're not there, so that they can go around and like find the treats and stuff. So you could try that. But yes, baby gates and crates. Yeah, so I have the Alcatraz crate, which I had to get because this dog was going to destroy my house. I had just remodeled, and I had brand new pine doors and what do they call the jam? Not the jam, but the molding. I don't know. You know what I mean? And new carpet. And he broke out of a crate and spent 4 hours trying to dig out. So my brand new pine had scratch marks on it. I felt terrible. I didn't care about the room. I mean, I did, but he dug the carpet up. There were teeth marks on the doorknob. And this dog literally was in a state of panic trying to get out. So because I did not have the luxury of staying home, I did have to get the Alcatraz crate. It was about $400. But if you think about how much you're going to spend in replacing furniture and drywall and having things chewed up, it's worth it. This crate is so big, it's still in my living room, and my dogs, like all three, sometimes will go in together. It just is in there, and that's where they like to go lay down, and I'll probably never move it because it's too big. But you may have to go to something like that if you can't do like suspended absences, but at the same time, start working on those departure cues and things like that. Fiorella, how do I stop my dog from being so obsessed with food? He recently started attacking other dogs in the park because they wanted to take a treat too. Okay, so my first rule, and I do this in puppy classes too. Is this just a regular park or a dog park? So when there are other dogs around, like when we do puppy playtime or socialization in puppy class, I make people put their treats away because that's a really good way to start a dog fight, is to have like other dogs want treats and other dogs come because they see you have treats. So when we do playtime in puppy class, I make people put their treats away and I say no treating during playtime. This is their time to play, and no treats. Now, if you're at a park and you're training and you have treats, that could be hard if you can't control the other dog, because if there are other dogs and they're off leash and they're running up to you, I would honestly just put the treats away and just say, I don't have anything. Because the easiest way to control that is going to be to like manage your environment to where there's no treats to be had. Because if there are other dogs and they're not yours and you don't know the owners or the people, it's going to be really hard to train. You can do it, but it's going to be hard in that environment if you don't have the help from other people. And you can't control the distance. So we usually start with a distance and reward like your dog for being calm with this dog here. And then slowly decrease the distance and then reward your dog for being calm while there's a dog here. But if you're at a park and there's a lot of loose dogs, then they're running up. There's really no way that you can control that. So I would like hide the treats, hide the resources, things like that. If like I usually have a treat bag on, and if we're outside training and a loose dog comes up, I put the treat bag behind me and I'm just like, I don't have anything, it's all gone, and just let them know it's all gone. But yes, there's a really good book out called Mine, and I cannot remember who wrote it, but it's a really good book on resource guarding. Just because there's no really short answer, but that book can take you through and help you with resource guarding. But at the same time, just know that environmental management is the first thing we always go to. And just, especially in that kind of situation where you can't control what other off-leash dogs are doing, just make it so that there's no treats there. So have a pocket, have something to where the treats can go away. Let's see. Okay, Lisa, how do you get your 1.5, I don't know if that's, I'm assuming month-old puppy? He always wants to play tug of war. He won't let me have the toy. So I teach a drop it. So the way that I do drop it is the dog has the toy and I put a treat right in front of their nose, like right in front of their nose, and I say, drop it. And the second they drop it to get the treat, and this is when I do use salmon or cheese or hot dog, something that's smelly, I say, drop it. And then as soon as the dog drops it, that's when I mark like, yes. And when they're eating the treat, I pick up the toy and then I make the toy kind of go away. And then I can usually grab the toy while they're eating the treat. So as soon as they drop it for the treat, as I'm giving the treat, I grab the toy and then I have possession of it. And then if you want to teach your dog like an off cue, like an off switch, you just say, then it's like, okay, all done. And then the toy goes away and there's no more play. Or when I teach trades, I'll let the dog have the toy, and then I put the treat up and say, drop it. And then as soon as they drop it, I mark with either a clicker or yes, pick up the toy, give the treat, and then I give the toy back and say, take. So in the dog's mind, it's like, oh, I dropped the toy, I get a treat, and then I get the toy back. So it's a win-win. And then sometimes I don't give it back. So if a dog has something like a sock or you want the tug game to be over, then I don't give it back. But I teach a trade. So it's like, you give me this, I give you this, but then I'll give you this back. So sometimes we trade back and forth, and it's a fun game for the dog so that they get a reward, but they also get their tug toy back. So that's what I would do. Lisa, if you want to email me, it's Tracy with an I, I'm typing it in, at pupford.com, and just say, send me your handout on trades. I will send you the handout on how I teach a trade. Okay, so Allison, I'm going to look it up really quick and tell you who wrote that book. It's a pink book. I know it's pink. And I think you can get it in Kindle. Oh, Jean Donaldson. I should have known that. This is what it looks like. Oh, I don't know if you can see it with the light there. So it's called Mine, pink book, Jean Donaldson. Great book on resource guarding. Pupford may have a course on resource guarding. I don't know if they do yet or not. But that book's great for resource guarding. Okay. Oh, it looks like we're at the bottom. Perfect timing. And yeah, you can do leave it. The way that I teach leave it though, and not saying that my way's right, but depending on how you teach leave it, for me, leave it means you don't ever get it, but you get something better. So leave it, I use for like skunks, porcupines, which Rhonda, you understand, we do have those up where I live. Deer poop, dead animals. It's like you don't ever get that, but if you leave that, I will give you bacon. I will give you something better. But with drop it, now if they have like a sock or something that you don't want them to ingest, then yes, you could say leave it or drop it. And then, but make sure you reward with something better. Because if you say leave it, and then you just pick it up and don't give them anything in return, the next time the dog's going to be like, well, why should I leave it or give it up? Like, I'd rather just take it. So it has to be really rewarding for the dog to want to leave it. So it's like, oh, if I leave that, or if I give up, I'm going to get something better or really yummy. And with doing trades, so I love the way one of my friends explains this. In fact, I wish somebody would do this to me. If you lend your car to somebody and they take it and they bring it back and it's all filled up with gas and washed and detailed, that's why I wish somebody would borrow my car, because it needs to be cleaned out really bad. Then next time you're going to be like, oh, heck yeah, take my car. Like, take it anytime because it comes back better. So when you're doing a trade, you have to offer something of equal or higher value. So then the dog drops it and gets something better, then they're like, oh yeah, I'll give it up because I'm going to get something better. And then you can give the original one back and like just keep trading. So it's beneficial because it's like, oh yeah, I get something better and then I get this back. So it's kind of like that. And yeah, I do the same thing as Deb. I do leave it separate from drop it. Yep, exactly what Deb said. That's it, and that's how I teach it. Leave it. You don't ever get it, but I'll give you something better. So Allison, my favorite things to use for, I mean, luckily my dogs are very food motivated, so I could use just about anything. I use the salmon treats for trades, or leave it. So I use these, only the salmon flavor, but I also use bacon. I'm a vegetarian, but every time I go out to eat, I live in a small town and everybody at the diner knows me. So when I go in, they always say, do you want your side of bacon in a box? And I'm like, yes, please, because they know it's for training. So they always give me a little box of bacon, and I'm sure I'm paying much more than if I would just make it myself, but I usually don't have time. I don't cook much. So I get the side of bacon and then I break it up into little pieces, and I use that for training. So that's high value. For my walk away cue, Travis, I just started, because now I'm kind of using bacon for recall and leave it, because I want, if we're out hiking where there's all sorts of animals, if I say come or leave it and my dogs do it, it has to be super rewarding because there's so many other distractions. So I use the bacon for that now. So I just started using gizzards, which, Allison, if you are a vegetarian too, you know that having to buy gizzards is really gross. Even if I ate meat, buying gizzards is really gross. I went up to the guy at the butcher counter and I said, okay, this is probably a really dumb question, but do you sell like chicken hearts or gizzards or something for dogs? And he's like, oh yeah, right over here. I mean, they're packaged, everything, hearts and gizzards. Now, I can't cut them up and touch them unless they're frozen. So I actually freeze them, and then I'll cut them up into smaller pieces. And then it doesn't matter if they're frozen. If it's frozen or, by the time they thaw, that's what I'm using for my flight cue now, is because that's the only time they ever get it, is when I'm doing the flight cue. I know it's hard. The things I do for my dogs. I would have to come up with something better, and I don't know. I don't think I can afford to buy steak for them all the time. Buying bacon is bad enough, but yeah, I've just started using gizzards. It's really hard for me to cut up as hot dogs. I hate cutting up hot dogs. I will do it sometimes for certain clients, but I don't like touching them. I don't like the smell of them. I certainly wouldn't eat them. I did when I was a kid, so not judging. If you guys love hot dogs, great. I just don't like the feel of it, and for me, cutting up hot dogs is gross. The gizzards I can do if they're frozen, because I can just they're not squishy and slimy. And then I put them in a bag and just take one out at a time. And usually when I'm training the flight cue, they're still frozen and the dogs still like them frozen. So, and it actually takes them longer to eat it. So I just keep a bunch frozen and I train with it that way. And very rarely do I have to touch them when they're thawed out. But yeah, it's pretty gross. Yes, bacon is absolutely safe for dogs. I give it to my dogs all the time. And my dogs love bacon. And I do break it into tiny pieces so that they're just getting a piece. And then it's oh, I really want some more. So then if I say come again or leave it, they're like, oh yeah, we'll do it because we know we're going to get some bacon. And because I don't have meat in my house, it's a delicacy for my dogs because they don't ever get it. They do get table scraps, but it's usually, some yogurt or have a really boring diet because I'm never home. So it might be a piece of a protein bar or salad. I mean, my dogs do like carrots and broccoli, so they might get that. But when I bring bacon home from the diner, they are like, they'll do anything. So yeah, I do it for the dogs. But yes, bacon's absolutely safe. I tried giving Dakota chicken. Cold cuts, is that good? Yeah, you could do that. I can't remember, honestly. I don't, well, I don't even want to say because I honestly don't know. I know that one of my friends feeds a raw diet, and I don't know if that means you can feed it to them raw or if it has to be cooked. I honestly don't know. However, one of my board and trains last week, I am not kidding, eats better than I do. They came with pre-packaged, marked lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And they feed it totally organic. Their dogs' meals consisted of, like, there was spinach, kale. There was some kind of, like, they looked like cranberries. There was quinoa. But there was elk meat. So the dad hunts and gets elk or wild turkeys. And at first, what I thought were cranberries, there were cranberries in there too, but it was actually raw meat. So I think you can feed them raw meat, but I don't know about chicken. So I would check first before you do that. But cold cuts, yes, definitely fine. Oh yeah, sardines for high value. I've heard of that too. I don't know if I could handle the smell. I'm really sensitive to smells. And I don't like the smell of fish, although I do use the Pupford salmon treats because that's not bad. My hands will smell like salmon a little bit, but I have allergies, so I can't really smell that good. But yeah, I don't know if I could do sardines. Another one that I've used are for high value treats are the, what are they called? They're little smokies. So they're like the little teeny smoked pepperoni things, but they're like this big. They're kind of messy, but they're the smoked, and you can cut them up into little pieces. I have used those before as well with some really shy dogs who didn't like treats, were really shut down. I had to use something really high value. That was before I discovered that they sell gizzards. But I've used little smokies as well, and those work good too. So you can try that. Okay, I think we got through everybody. I'm so excited. We had a great group tonight. So thank you everybody for joining. Congratulations to Haley from Florida for winning tonight's drawing. And I will be back next Wednesday, same time, same place. And if you have questions or if you wanted any of the handouts that we talked about tonight, feel free to email me, Tracy with an I at pupford.com. And I will be happy to email you back and send you the handouts that you need. And good job, Travis, on the flight queue. That's so awesome. I'm so glad that that's working for you. So have a great week, and we'll see you all next week.